Hello, my name is Alex Cassian, and in this video I'm going to talk about the process of creating this portrait done entirely from life. This entire process took about 4 hours, including the breaks. However, to make this video easier to watch, I decided to condense it to only 11.5 minutes. For anyone interested in watching a full real-time video, I have actually shared one of my recent art tutorials that was filmed during my art class that is available on my channel. The surface I'm using for this painting is a 270 gram smooth Bristol paper that I have covered with gray ground. My palette is made out of glass, and the printout you see underneath is something I designed myself. It has paint placeholders, which helps me to quickly organize my palette, and underneath that you see a grayscale that I designed in order to orient myself quicker when trying to identify color. One of the biggest challenges in painting from life in a limited period of time is figuring out ways to be as efficient as possible. And one of the solutions I found, or one of the tools that really helps, is using 4 brushes. So you see me using currently 4 different brushes. And the idea here is that each brush is dedicated to a limited set of values. Meaning I have one of the brushes that will only be used for my lights, one of the brushes for the midtones, third brush will be for my darks, and my fourth brush will be used for my darkest darks. That is because one of the most common problems with oil paintings is when artists use only one brush, paintings tend to turn out a little bit too muddy looking, too chalky looking. And that is because brushes tend to contaminate paint. So if you have a brush where you had titanium white, for instance, and then you try to clean it in order to put some of the darker colors, you actually carry a little bit of that light color into your darks and vice versa. In order to eliminate this contamination, having different brushes helps tremendously. Additionally, it can also accelerate your painting speed, as you no longer have to mix your color from scratch, as most often you will already have a lot of that color on your brush, or you will already have it premixed on the palette. Unlike shifting values, the thing that is much easier to do in oil paint is shifting your hues. So for example, if I'm working on the mid-tone area and I have too much red in my skin tone, I can still use the same brush simply by shifting from red towards the yellow. So at the beginning, the use of 4 brushes is very, very helpful. That is also the reason why I prefer painting my quick portrait sketches on gray paper, because it allows me to quickly access my lightest lights and my darkest darks without trying to fight the white of the gessoed canvas. Another useful tip that I found was to completely eliminate any use of solvents when starting painting. Now, the idea of using a solvent is that it thins down your paint and it makes the paint application on the canvas much easier. Now, instead of using solvent, what I'm doing instead is I'm using colors such as transparent yellow oxide to start with, and because my paper is very smooth, my brush flows much easier than if it was a canvas. Eliminating solvent from your painting is not only a good idea for your health, especially if you don't have a large space to paint that is not well ventilated, but also it's better for the painting. Your paint sticks much better to the surface. Let's talk about the process now. So my initial steps that you saw were based on the idea of establishing the basic drawing. My initial steps were done with transparent yellow oxide, where I separated my values into general groups of lights and darks. Then with transparent red oxide, I went in and separated my darker darks. I kind of carved them out from from the initial drawing. And then to stretch my values, I have placed my highlight, and from there on I've been just separating my shapes, looking for more precise shapes and looking for more precise transition of values. After establishing that, my next goal is to pay closer attention to color temperature. So in here you can see me using a bit more of a cooler shadows. So going back and forth with color temperatures, breaking down shapes into smaller and smaller shapes to get more of that accuracy that I see in my model. As I advance my painting, I am starting to use my brushes slightly differently. So the brushes I'm using here are 4 different medium-sized brushes that are not too hard nor too soft. They have longer hair, so they're able to scoop quite a bit of paint, while their sharp tip allows me for the application of precise lines and shapes. I've been sharing my work online and have had some great questions that came my way. So here in this video I'm going to try to address some of them, and also if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them in my future videos. So one of the most common questions is, how do I not scrape off or remove the previous layer of paint while applying new oil paint? Now, at the beginning, your application of the brush strokes is not as important. However, as you advance in your painting and as your surface becomes more saturated with oil, you need to start paying closer attention to the angle at which you're applying the brush. So for example, if you're touching your surface in a perfectly perpendicular way, you might end up scraping off your paint. However, if you rotate your brush and use more of the side of the brush to lay more pigment, this will allow you to gradually add more and more paint onto your surface. Another thing, it could be just maybe a matter of the type of brush that you are using. If you feel that your brush removes too much paint underneath, it's either your brush has rough hair, so maybe you need a slightly smoother brush, or the hair on the brush is a bit too short. So sometimes even the length of the hair on the brush will make a difference. So having a brush that has longer hair with a medium type of resistance, so not too soft and not too hard, is something that could be pretty helpful. I try to stick to medium-sized brushes for as long as possible because they're a lot more efficient, a lot faster than small brushes. However, small brushes, they definitely have their own role to play, and especially when it comes down to smaller areas such as eyes. So if I need to separate a very precise area from light to shadow, such as separation of the upper eyelid, the light on the upper eyelid from the darker side of the eye, small brush is an absolute must. But for most areas, medium brush can do most of the work. Now, unlike the initial steps of my painting process where I was mentioning the use of multiple brushes, as I approach the end of my painting, in order to bring my values closer and in order to have less of a choppy look on my painting, I actually go from using 4 brushes to using 1 brush, because having that muddy effect is maybe not the greatest thing when you're starting the painting, but actually it can be helpful towards the end if you want to tie in your values closer together and not having these patchy effects all over the painting. So going from using 4 brushes into using 1 brush can be very helpful, because it gets those transitions even softer, even smoother, while still keeping all the structure. Now, while I'm painting from life, I always make sure to also verify my drawing, because even if your drawing is perfectly established, or you believe that it's perfectly established at the beginning, it might slip away as you develop further your painting. So one of my favorite tools to use in order to verify my drawing is checking my verticals and my horizontals. So I'll give you an example. Oftentimes I'll take my brush and see how does the edge of the mouth align with the eye, and I'll verify that with my painting. And if my alignments match on the model and my painting, that means that I'm on the right track. And if not, I'm always trying to improve and make these changes in order to get as much of that accuracy as possible, because that's literally what makes that's literally what creates rather the resemblance of your model to your painting. I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial, and if you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comments. I'm gonna try to address them in my next videos, but otherwise, if you would like to check out my full 2.5 hour tutorial, it's available on my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free to watch, and you can find many useful tips there. That video was filmed during my class, and so you'll see minute by minute of the painting process. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be posting some more new and exciting material very soon.